Hey all, welcome to today's channel chat. This is part of a series we're doing on hot button issues in MMOs, in which we're trying to round up a bunch of different perspectives. And joining us today is someone who I met through this channel. We've collaborated on quite a few things since then. You heard them in some of the Star Citizen footage that we've shared on this channel, and so on. Helios, thanks for joining us today, man. How are things?
Thanks for having me, man. It's pretty good. The sun's out, as we discussed, and I'm pretty excited to talk about this cool game that we've watched Chris Roberts kind of mash together out of the ether. It's going to be
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Um, so we're going to tackle some pretty polarizing issues in gaming and especially MMOs today. Before we start, how about you give us a little bit of context? Tell us about your gaming background.
So I got started playing games in my dad's lap when I was 3. He was playing Descent. Not even Descent Free Space, just like OG Descent and System Shock. And I think my first game that I played on my own was Doom. My parents are really big hippies, and they both really love video games. So like I got to grow up with a computer in my house because like it was just theirs, and that was like their thing. So I got like whenever they weren't using it or they were at work or something, I got to just like sneak on and like pump in stuff into DOS prompt and boot up games. So I've been doing this for a whole long time, and I just never put it down because like why would you? They're so cool. I like why? Um, and I eventually got into like more social games. I play a lot of Arma. I run a community on Arma that you've run into. They're really solid group of guys. We do meetups in real life all the time, and I love the social aspect as well as the aspect of getting arrested with representations of things that you wouldn't get to mess with in real life, right? Like $30 million planes or whatever, and just getting to at least experience what it's like to think in that way. So games are really important to me in a lot
Yeah.
of regards.
Yeah, so your Arma group is it's like 227 Nightstalkers, right?
Yeah, 242 and
242. I got the
yeah,
number wrong. What, what,
yeah.
what,
I'll
what got
give
you into
away.
that side of gaming? Because I mean, yeah, I've interacted with your group quite a bit now. You all are quite serious. Like, not everybody that gets into gaming kind of gets that serious about. Like, what took you to that side of it?
So I used to play a lot of Battlefield 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really kind of sad with how detached it was from other people. Like how you would kind of log in, and there wasn't really a lot of social communication going on. There wasn't a lot of like coordination. It was just kind of like you and the people you didn't shoot, and then the people you shot at, right? And that's kind of it. And I occasionally would get games where I would meet a bunch of people who actually wanted to do like teamwork, who would like work together and stick together over the course of a match. And you'd make some cool friends that way, and there would be kind of these consistent connections. And eventually, somebody told me about a mod called Project Reality, and I jumped into Project Reality. I think I was like a teenager for point 0.5. And the first thing I noticed was that the server would threaten to ban you if you didn't join a squad immediately, right? You would just get kicked out of the server for like no squatting or like lone wolfing. It was like banned, like get out, don't even play with us. And then the minute you join a squad, everybody's on their microphones, right? Which for me was, you know, different because it wasn't like a COD lobby where people are talking shit. It was like, hey, dude, you just joined, spawn here, get this gun, meet us at this place. And it's like, whoa, okay. That's like different. But that was back in the day the standard for what you got when you got into Project Reality, right? And through that, through those experiences, because there's a tempo to it, right? There's a lot of action, and then there's like that downtime. And in that downtime, you get to really talk to people, right? When you ride in the back of a truck or you're in the back of a helicopter, you just like start talking shit. And that kind of tempo where you kind of get to know what somebody's like in a stressful situation, and then it calms down, you get to talk, you get to really know people. But in order to do that, you kind of have to play by a certain set of rules, right? You have to have things less about yourself and more about the team that you're with. You have to play a little bit more to a role. So in that, you get to meet people in a way that I think is a little bit less superficial than what you get in a lot of other game experiences. So in the spirit of doing that, I started a community where we could play more often. So instead of wanting to just play with pubbers, even though the public experiences in those games were really great, right? I wanted a game where I could play with the same group of people consistently and get to like higher levels of coordination, more investigation and exploration of those kind of ideas. And eventually it got to the point where like, yo, why don't we just like go meet up in real life? Because like we're all like adults with money and job now, and we've been playing Arma, trying to do this for so long, and we started meeting up. But Arma had something else besides the Battlefield 2 part. It had that editor, and it's basically just the same experience that you get with Dungeons and Dragons, except army men, right? Where every week a bunch of people would be like, "Hey man, like I got a cool mission," right? And they would put it on the server, and we played like, "Yeah, man, this mission was really dope." Like some dudes make like, missions where if they're a veteran, they might be recreating something that they actually saw in real life, or it might be a guy who's retelling a story. We've done like a million Black Hawk Downs, right? Like everybody does a Normandy thing, but there's also remixes of like different ideas that you might want to explore. And it's just dudes telling stories by like immersing the players in those stories, right? And they only last like maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour, but there's tons of details because you get like level design and firefight design and stuff, and it's totally on par with a lot of the stuff that you would get from like a AAA studio for some of these games when you get like really good at it. And those different feelings are so unique, so interesting, that you just can't help but treat them with the reverence of playing it as seriously as you possibly can, because the guy who sat down for like 8 hours over the course of however it was, maybe a week, like tweaking this experience so that they could do it for you. And like, yeah, the milsim stuff is like, it's there, it's fluffy and whatever, but the real point of it is like the trying to live out the vision of what the mission maker put together when they wanted to make that experience, and then executing it well, because like you become a part of the story that they were telling, right? And that is what I think the apex of co-op gaming is, right? About living out like a story. And even in PvP gaming, it's the same way, right? When you do it in Arma in certain circles, that kind of the flow of it is this narrative that you're immersing yourself in. And it's really unlike a lot of other gaming experiences. And it's something that you only get in, I think, like high level MMO raids or something like that, like the Leroy Jenkins kind of story, right? That
Yeah.
shit lived on for so long, right? Because it's so absurd, and that's just like, yeah, I've seen that jackass in Arma before, and like I've seen those kinds of crazy moments where everybody tries to like recalibrate, or like it's like an abysmal failure. Everybody's like, oh my god, come on! But you know what? It's on YouTube. It's got like what, like a couple 100 million views. Like even my uncle, who doesn't play video games, knows about Leroy Jenkins, because that's how powerful and ridiculous and like relatable of a story it is. And Arma lets you just make content like that and then play it every week, right? All the time. So yeah, that's why I do it. It's sorry, it's a little bit of a rambling answer, but that's just a
No,
deep, it's a
that's
really good
amazing.
question.
Because Arma itself is not an MMO, right? I don't know a whole lot about Arma, but it's more of like a how many people can you get in an Arma map?
Uh, yes, but that's like a struggle in of itself. I've seen like over like 150 in a server.
Wow.
I'm almost certain that other people have gotten it bigger, but
Yeah.
it's a real balancing act with like netcode, because you got a server. Do you have AI involved? Where are the players? Where's the server? How much bandwidth you got? Like how much desynchronization do you have? Like how much stuff's going on?
Yeah.
It's all a really big balancing act, and it's really hard to get in there. So shout out to the people who make that netcode possible. But it's a military sandbox. um the game, it has like a couple built-in scenarios, but the real thing about it is the editor. You make a scenario, you put it on the server, and you can get people involved,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of do whatever. And if you want persistence, you can script that. There's tools that will let you make the server remember things between sessions, but there's no uh dedicated big giant server for everybody to live in that's just like always on. It's a million gated communities, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, Speaking of MMOs, like I've interacted with your group in Star Citizen, which aims to be an MMO. It's really not yet, but it's headed in that direction. Have you played any other MMOs, or is Star Citizen your first foray?
I played World of Warcraft back in the day,
Okay.
and I played EverQuest 2 back in the day for a little bit, and I played a few when I was just like screwing around as a kid trying to figure out what I like to play. I think I played Guild Wars, Repels, Eve Online, and I think there's like one more. There's like one of the Korean like free to play ones. Um, and yeah, so I played a few MMOs, but I think I got to like level like 20 something in World of Warcraft before I conked out of it, but I didn't really get past the tutorial, if
Yeah.
that makes, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I got you. How long did you play Eve?
A week.
A week?
I did not. I no, no. That game. There's a special kind of person who plays Eve Online, but
Yeah.
uh, it was not for me. I have a lot of respect for it, and I love reading about it. I love reading Eve Online news. I just don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I want to
Spreadsheets
do it,
aren't
but
entertaining?
it's such a cool game. They are, but like not like that.
Yeah.
Not like that. Oh my god. But those people are so cool, just being able to do that. But yeah, spreadsheets are awesome. I'm just I don't
Spreadsheets are
know.
awesome.
I don't know. It's just not like that.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, the most entertaining part of Eve for me has often been the news. I love the people
Yeah.
that put those news feeds together. They're talking about like the territory shuffles and who's at warring with who and like all that. It's kind of like its own soap
Like
opera.
yeah, like how many like billions of ISK were lost
Yeah.
like yesterday, and like how many Titans got blown up at like this jump gate or whatever. It's just like it's so cool. It's like
Yeah.
watching the news on TV when you see an invasion happen or something. It's like what the fuck.
Yeah. Um, Group play versus solo play. This is the first kind of polarizing topic I wanted to touch on. I know you and I have shared some back and forth on this previously, so look forward to what you have to say on this one. But this is a topic that always gets people fired up on basically every Reddit post or forum or Spectrum or wherever these discussions happen. You have the two extremes of the people who say everything should be accessible to the solo player, the other groups who are like, nah, we need a bunch of content that locked behind group play to incentivize people getting together. I mean, after all, it's an MMO. Where do you fall on this spectrum?
Um, I've been making armor missions at least, probably for or just trying to organize content for people in video games since I was about 15 or 14, I can't remember. Um, and accessibility is the death of fidelity in my opinion. Um, and I am somebody who really likes Skyrim, right? And Skyrim is designed, if anything, to be accessible. The problem is you have to make design choices and sacrifices when you want to go for maximum accessibility. You sacrifice a lot of the depth that might make the game more interesting. And that's why you see people modding the heck out of Skyrim, because even though Bethesda did a great job in making the game super accessible, right? They make the game like it's too easy sometimes. It doesn't like satisfy an urge to be challenged, right? Um, Even my partner kind of said, "Yeah, I beat Skyrim and didn't even realize that there was until like I told her about it because it's just not important, right? You can just play an archer and not use most of the content in the game, and the game doesn't like crap, and that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. She had fun, which is the point of playing a video game in the first place. It's like this whole elitism thing around it is silly. The thing that I want to have is reward and intent behind what things are. So if you make something for solo play, there are things that will make solo play engaging and fun, right? People have lost tons of hours playing Skyrim, Dwarf Fortress, and single player Tarkov, right? Or Stalker, right? Games that have or Ninja Gaiden or whatever, right? Or Dark Souls. There's tons of stuff about like interesting solo experiences. When you have multiplayer experiences, though, most of the things that make a fun solo experience do not translate to making a good multiplayer experience, right? Unless you have like maybe Halo, where there's like two people or whatever. But even then, you do things to like kind of crank up the experience. And Once you get to the scale of Star Citizen, where you have people not playing casually and trying to like live out a role, they will start to optimize. And the minute they start to optimize, a lot of the design things that you made to make things accessible for both will be like things that make you accessible to be playing solo will make it a breeze to be played as a group. And that will destroy like the meat of what you're doing. It kind of turns it into slop. So for me, make stuff that's rewarding for group players, right? That exists, that will challenge a group, that is inaccessible to a solo player, because that's the whole point of having a group, where you need to have that interpersonal reliance. You need to be able to exchange gratitude between the players. Otherwise, it's hollow, right? If you can't be thankful for the other person in the group for helping you, why are you even in a group together, right? Just go play solo. And for a solo player, you need to have that thing that gives you like that action hero feeling, right? That, individualistic challenge, just like Elden Ring or something, that makes it rewarding in that way. And you can't cross them because they're two different languages, right? So for me, I'm not trying to approach this from like, oh my God, this needs to be elitist or whatever, but from like what makes you feel good, or at least what makes me feel good in these things. Don't speak to the same kinds of designs. Um, so I would just rather have, for me, Siege of Orison was amazing because it's almost impossible to play by yourself, right? Let's say you get an empty server with you and your 20 guys, and you just go straight to Orison and you start playing it. You can't carry enough ammunition to get through it, right? At least when it was coming out for the first time. There's too many enemies. You can't watch all the sectors. There's people spawning all over the place. There's too much crap to do. It takes forever. You do that with like 20 to 30 people, it's amazing, right? Because suddenly, you can have like offloads, and you can go back and people can continue for you, and then you still make progress. That's fun. If you, or Xenothreat, where you had to reload the ship, and then you had people like carrying crates to like load up somebody else's ship and like optimizing it, whatever, and then they would play between the people who were loading the crates and people flying them back and people protecting the ship or whatever, and then there was this whole operation that was inaccessible to somebody who's by themselves. You can't, why would I ever want to replace that with something that's workable for solos? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why?
You mentioned optimization and turning it into soup. Like, what's an example? So people know what you mean by that.
um the way, gosh, I'm trying to think of a piece of content right now that had that happen. uh Something that was come up recently, I think, was the maybe the contested zones. I think there's a couple of people doing those solo. um Gosh, I guess so much of the content has been, I guess, a little bit forgettable now, that I can't even remember why I just got turned off from it. But it was just like, or just some of the stuff that people are doing now with the regular mid, right? Like a data center thing or the bunkers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you just do the bunkers by yourself, and you want in, you shoot 15 guys, maybe you shoot 20 guys or whatever, and then you walk out and then you just do it over again, right? And you can do this as a group, but like, why, right? I don't need anybody here unless I make a mistake, right? That's what it is.
Yeah. Along those lines, I got to ask you, how do you feel about AI blades and NPC crew?
So I'm okay with NPC crew, but my understanding of what NPC crew was going to be is different from what people really think it was going to be. I think a lot of people think NPC crew was going to be something closer to War Thunder, where you get an NPC crew in the turret of your ship, and it allows you to kind of W and M1 a capital ship in the same way that you can W and M1 your anvil, your arrow or whatever. Um, and my understanding of NPC crew was that you would basically be able to give a simulacrum of a person orders, and they would follow those orders as if you were trying to command a group, right? And it would be wholly less efficient than, getting actual people, because people will be able to just respond better, right? As in, it's kind of like a management game more than it is you playing, War Thunder Arcade, where you just, left click on something and then, or you press W and the tank turns, your driver and gunner at the same time. um I think that would been like a much better and like loftier and reasonable goal. But I think a lot of people want like, yeah, I put an NPC gunner in my turret, and my turret follows where my mouse is, and then I'm driving my constellation like it's a hurricane or whatever, and that's kind of the end of it. AI blades, I think, kind of have a place, and I think that they would be interesting if there was something else you could do for that place in lieu of having a person sit there. And as long as they make it so that, hey, you're not putting a person in this turret, you're dedicating a significant part of the ship that should be doing something else to driving something where a human should be, right? That's an interesting trade-off that I don't have a problem with, as long as it has the gravity of, hey, you are foregoing the effort of putting something where a person should be, right? And therefore you're getting the benefit of almost having one there, but you have to pay a price. I hope that's where they go with it, because multi-crew ships deserve multi-crews. And by crews, I mean like people working together, having those exchanges of gratitude, learning to coordinate, or else it's slop. It's just a fighter with like a bigger health pool and like more guns, right? That's it. And that's gross, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're both on the same page. The last thing I would want to see Star Citizen become is like a huge intergalactic battle that is a blob of ships, and every ship has one pilot on it.
Yeah, no, that's awful, awful.
Yeah. Along those same lines, they've been updating a lot of the ships so that turrets that used to require multi-crew can now be slave to the pilot controls. I mean, you think that's a good move? Step in the wrong direction?
No. I think this is a band-aid of a problem that has been going on for a very, very long time with the way they design weapons and systems in this game for combat. They didn't have a coherent flight model when they designed a lot of these spacecraft. So, and most of fighter combat is like positioning, right? You put the enemy in a place where they can't shoot you, and in a place where you can shoot them. And the whole interplay of it is you lose before the person squeezes the trigger, right? You're already dead. It's really just a formality by the time the shoots you. The fight was in the maneuvering. And for some reason, they designed all of these ships without knowing the schematic for the maneuvering. So of course they're going back and making like wild changes to the way the ships fight, because they were like put together without like having an objective, right? When you look at how Lockheed Martin or somebody builds an aircraft to like accomplish a mission like the F-14, it's like, okay, this thing's going to be shooting a big missile at bombers trying to like drop nuclear weapons at like a fleet of ships or something, right? And you're going to make a plane to get to the intercept point fast. That's how they build planes. SIG didn't build a ship to do that. They built something that looks cool, and now they're like, we have to like make this fit into the new meta. How do we do that? So of course they're coming up with these wacky decisions, because like, as I think we discussed in another chat, like that wasn't really the point of what Chris Roberts was trying to make. Like he wanted combat, but he didn't have like, how does this look in terms of like what's supposed to happen? So like, it sucks to see, but I think it's just necessary.
Yeah. Makes sense. That's a good way of looking at it. I think it's a fair, balanced take. I've been kind of like grumbling about it, but I think when you look at it that way, it makes a lot more sense. The other side of group play is playing against other groups. PvP versus PvE. This is one of the other flashpoints on most forums. When you think about PvP, I don't know how many games you've played where like PvP is a huge part of it, but do you think like, let's go, or are you like, ugh? Like, how do you feel about it?
I like PvP, right? I play PvP Arma, and I play co-op Arma, right? There's servers for both, there's times for both. I was just playing PvP Broken Arrow, right? I love PvP RTSs too. There's design considerations that you have to make for both PvP and PvE games, right, in order to make them work. Star Citizen has like the terrible curse of having to do both in the same space and having to deal with both mindsets of players in the same space. And of course, you get a lot of conflict. But I like PvP. I think it's cool. But I know why some people don't. Um, I think I have some ways I could have fixed it, but I don't think Sig wants to move in the direction that I think would fix the issue.
How would you fix it?
Um, the murder hoboing thing is because PvP in Star Citizen is really wacky. There's like a couple of areas where people who like PvP just kind of know this is where I go to get into a fight. Like, if you want to fight, go to Jumptown, right? If go to this place, and if a lot of people who PvP just kind of hang out there because that's what they want, or like it used to be SPK. Um, Go to SPK if you want to get into a fight. But that's not really enough, right? It doesn't really satisfy that narrative of a good focused PvP setup, or like even like the austere sitting down at a chess table kind of thing as you get at a StarCraft match, right? Where it's you versus another player, you say GLHF, and then you have at each other, right? That isn't really there in Star Citizen. There's no like territory control game mode that lets people invest into like a PvP setting that uses the tools that made Star Citizen interesting in the first place, right? It's just a bunch of like disjointed gameplay mechanics without any unification. So of course, you see people murder hoboing if they're, grumbled of flying between different PvP hot zones and not finding enough people. They're just gonna go start shooting people because they're like, what's the point? There's nowhere to go. So I think I told you about this earlier, but we need like a control mode, right, where pirates can go and like take over places, and like everybody on the server who's like CDF aligned can like know, like, hey, people are stirring up trouble over here, start fighting, and then the pirates, if they don't have anything, can make more trouble, and eventually it'll start affecting economies and systems and whatever. But there's nothing there. Right, like the theaters of war thing was a great idea, but like, are you making that separate, dude? Just like put that in the game. And I don't think it would really require significant change from what they have now, right? We just need like some flags, some UI indicators, right? Maybe some changes to the quests and traffics that are put up, and people will come running to it. Because like, if I can be a pirate, take over a base, start getting rewards for taking over bases for the pirate faction, and then have CDF players come and try to mess me up because like, I'm taking over the mining bases or whatever, and it's having some kind of effect on them. That will make huge PvP battles in like 10 minutes, right? People will get really serious about that because being serious about it is what makes this fun. Um, but there's nothing there. So of course people just murder hobo, and that sucks because they're not speaking to this group of people in the first place. Um, so that's my that's that's my take on it. They need to use the tools they have and make something coherent for them to do this stuff. Like, why do I have a Polaris? Right? What's it for? It does nothing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying what we need is a framework for the PvP, not just trying to find somebody and ramming them just to take them out. I totally agree. I think I don't know. I think back. One thing I ask is like, ask people like, can you remember like a good PvP encounter you had, and can you remember like a bad PvP encounter you had, and like what's the difference? Like what I like to understand what makes people think like fondly about PvP or unfondly about it. But most of the unfond responses I've gotten is exactly that. Like, well, I was trying to take off from a pad and I just got destroyed. I can't even react to it because somebody just comes flying in and obliterates me. Or yeah, it's that very nonsensical style of PvP.
Yep. Yeah. It's the randomness, right? It's stress where you don't want it, right? There are games where it's like you want the sense of danger, but Star Citizen's trying to exist in a place where you have like wonder and splendor of like the sunrise on Daymar. You know what I mean? And nobody who's wanting to like go out and like mine rocks while the sun comes up wants to like have some jackass blow up their prospector when they're leaving the pad, because it's like that's not what you want. And it's like the whole get escorts thing is nonsense, because somebody who's looking to be an escort is looking for like the thrill of combat, right? They're not looking to sit there and watch somebody dig up rocks for 20 minutes and hope nothing happens. That's not satisfying either. And trying to like mix these two mindsets and mix those two experiences together is just crazy, because it's not what people want when they do either thing. Um, so it's weird, but what did it well was Dune Awakening, right? People who are on guard, on patrol in Ornithopters in Dune Awakening are usually pretty down for it, because it's time sensitive and it's faster when the people who are doing the mining are good. And everybody on the map saw the giant LSD explosion coming out of the purple rain coming out of the desert. And everybody's like, "Oh, that's the spot where everybody's gonna go. So let's go get that." And then it becomes like an arena where the tension is earned,
Yeah.
right? And you're not dying at spawn. You're fighting over the objective, and like it sucks when you die, but your penalty for it is not being able to get the benefit of the objective anymore, right? You get kicked out of the area, right? Which is fun, right? It's enjoyable and it's a reasonable expected consequence because you've made the stakes of bringing this stuff out there. It's this theory of, we'll call it like deployment, right? You go out to a place, you stake something, and you get benefits or you lose it. The equivalent to this is like having somebody shoot you in your hideout in Tarkov. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like that's silly. Nobody wants that. That would ruin the game. But that's essentially what's going on in Star Citizen, right? If somebody could shoot you in your hideout while you're playing Tarkov, like that, no, that's dumb, right? You go on it, you went to labs, you got shot. Okay, yeah, whatever, right? But not when I'm like sorting out my guns in my, playing Tetris with my gear. Like that's not when it's time to get in risk. Um, that's, that's my gripe.
Yeah. Another gripe I hear a lot is that the stakes are usually, a lot of games get the balance wrong whenever it comes to the stakes. So often the aggressor will have less risk than the defender, and I think that also throws a wrench in this for people, and it kind of creates that sour taste in people's mouths because I hear people who are playing Star Citizen and they invested $7 million in a haul that they're going to try to haul across the system, sell somebody where else for like 10 million. They're going to make a 3 million profit, and then some murder hobo comes along and they can wreck the whole thing, and it costs them nothing to disrupt that. And this is not just Star Citizen. I've seen this in Ashes of Creation with their caravan system. Same thing. You got to invest around the caravan. The person who wants to blow the caravan up risks nothing. Even in Dune Awakening, I totally agree that like they get the framework right. One thing they have done wrong is the actual balancing of the combat itself. And so when people want to come in and disrupt one of those spice fields, they can come in with zero equipment except what's on their back, while the other team has like ornithopters and carriers and crawlers. So they're risking all this gear, and the attacker coming in can just come in with a rocket launcher and fire 2 shots and take things out. So do you think that plays a part of it, like the stakes that are being uneven?
Yeah. This is when you run into the issue of accessibility, right? You have made getting the objective, right, without investing in the objective itself is basically no risk because it's extremely accessible. This is when it becomes toxic because somebody can essentially, right? I think this actually happened to you a few times. Like somebody was attacking your spice op that you decided to get tons of resources and time into getting crawlers, tons of resources and time into getting spice cropters, tons of time into like learning how to talk to each other so that you could like not have cluttered comms because the devs hate you, right? You invest all this time and then somebody straps a rocket launcher to their back, runs up, dies, and is like, well, that didn't work. Let me see if I can adapt immediately and figure out another way to like get through them. Dies. Okay, well that didn't work. Let me see if I can bother them again. Dies. And it's the thing that's also frustrating about it is that it's not even fun to fight them. It's just annoying, right? Because they don't have to make any investment into like getting there and traversing some kind of obstacle to get to the like fun zone, they don't even have to show up to the fun zone and be interesting to fight against, right? If
Yeah.
it was closer to, if they had to like do something to get there and there was a penalty for them leaving and there was something to invest and lose, they might bother to show up with a formation of ornithopters and a whole bunch of people, at which point the defenders would be like, oh shit, that's pretty cool, right? Let's go have a fight, right? Then it would be like, it would be really badass. But the problem is, solo players would be essentially hard locked out of the system because they wouldn't be able to amass enough resources to appear in a credible way to challenge that kind of group in a way that is narratively interesting. Um, so you just don't get to make that interesting for those people,
Yeah.
and that's okay, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Make other content for solos that's speaks to narratives that inspire somebody who's playing alone, right? Like the spice dream thing, or the other parts of the desert that are interesting, or fighting the Fremen. Those are great fun narratives that shouldn't interfere at all with the construction of something built for people who are in groups.
Got it. You mentioned not envying the position that CR or whoever's making these games are in whenever they're trying to get these two things to coexist in the same world. We've seen a lot of different systems that try to make this happen, like Dune. They use the deep desert. That's the PvP zone. Everything else is PvE. Games like New World had a flagging system where you could opt in to being PvP'd or not, and people were running out around in the same space, and some of them were attackable, some of them were not. EVE Online used like a security system where like some things were high sec, some were low, some were medium, so that kind of determined. Albion Online was another one that somebody mentioned to me recently, which uses like a color coding system. Like you range from like blue, which is the like there's no risk, to black, which is full loot PvP. Ashes has a very complicated flagging system. Do you think that any of these are better than the others? Or if you could design your own, would you do it differently?
With respect to what Chris Roberts has said, I don't think any of those are going to work.
Yeah.
And I want to say with respect to what I think Chris Roberts wants to build, I think he has to look at positive incentive way more than like clever design. And there also have to just be hard immersion breaking gameplay restrictions on what people can do where, but you have to make the incentives so strong that people don't even think about it, right? It has to be something that you care about so much that the fact that you can't fight in some places isn't even like a big deal to you. And without like those hard boundaries, you can't really have a video game, because people have lives in real life that make it so that going to prison is something that's like actually a problem, right? And if you make it that way in a video game, you kill the magic of the video game, right? There has to be magic in it. There has to be like wonder and scope and the ability to explore and do things. And if you go too far, into trying to punish people like you do in real life, then the magic of it dies, right? The beauty and wonder of it goes away because it's wrapped up in annoying systems. And I think that's the biggest thing that's happening in Star Citizen is he's killing the magic with all of this like pedantic nonsense, right? Like, having to, the way that you eat is just freaking annoying. Like take your helmet off and eat, go to jail and whatever. It's annoying, right? Make it cool. Just make it cool, Chris. Just don't worry about like trying to emulate real life, because people don't think that way, right? We have this problem in Arma when we're trying to like balance things. Even if you threaten people in a one life scenario, right, where there's a time limit of like an hour, and if you die in minute 10, you are out for 50 minutes. You know what people do? People will still try and die in the first 10 minutes as long as they do something that gets their team a win, because it's just cooler that way, right? People will throw insane amounts of time away to be awesome for 5 seconds, right? And it's like, especially dudes will destroy their individual self, right, for the sake of mattering in a big way for 30 seconds.
right? And that's just gonna, right? That doesn't matter. You can't beat that. So stop trying and make it cooler. Give them something shinier to do somewhere else. Break stuff in other places. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
right? Right. Look
Yeah.
at Halo Reach, right? The scene where the guy crashes the pelican into the scarab, and it's like everybody's like saluting and everybody's like crying. That's who everyone wants to be, right? Everybody wants to be the guy who like drops artillery head and like, kills 30 enemies and is glorious. That's like every dude, right? Every dude's like, come on, you apes, you want to live for. That's what everybody wants that. So like, stop trying to like it. You'd be like, oh well, you know what? Yeah, I had to go. Yeah, I had to go to jail 3 days, right? And mine rocks. Like I blew up somebody's Idris, and like I got to be, like I got to be the guy who like crashed into like the executor, but I had to like go to jail for 2 weeks. Everybody's gonna be like, no one will care, right? No one will care, right? So
Oh,
stop
man.
trying to fight that with punishment. It's not going to work. Okay, as long as there is an opportunity for somebody to use an A-wing and blow up like the executor, right, or be Luke Skywalker and blow up the Death Star, they will always try to be Luke Skywalker and blow up the Death Star. You cannot fight this, right? You just have to make the way to blow up the Death Star something other than being Luke Skywalker, right? And punishment will just make the game annoying, right? And people will just not want to do it. Um, that's that they just won't want to participate at all,
Yeah.
right? Because you've spent so much time punishing people, you forgot to make the magic. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. That's some pretty good insight I had never considered, and it definitely helps you to understand why it's such a difficult problem to address. Oh man.
It's like being a kid in school and you get detention for like hacking
Exactly.
speakers, right? And it's like, dude, no one cares, right?
I
You get to
know.
be like, you're gonna get like, you go to high school, ridiculous, right? And like you, or even something like silly, like you label the chickens 1, 2, and 4, right? And then like there's no number 3, but like everybody's looking for it. Like it's like you're sitting there in detention for the next semester with a smile on your face. Like, you know, everybody thinks you're awesome. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Oh man, I have very personal experiences that match exactly what you're saying. That is hilarious.
It's like, of course you do.
Yeah,
It's
everybody does.
universal.
Yeah. Um,
It's like classic Boyhood.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so CR is trying to create this massive, beautiful sandbox that we all just kind of get to go live in, and um, presumably it will be something that we can carve out our space in, create like our own destiny, claim territory, build bases, stations, all this kind of stuff. Um, Over the past couple of years, like 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know, we have seen MMO after MMO come out, gain a huge population on day one, 1 million plus, and then quickly die, and then slowly die. um, Now, most of those MMOs have followed the same recipe, kind of like the Blizzard recipe, the vertical progression content drip recipe, and very few of them have proven that they can keep up with the pace of content that a company like Blizzard or Square Enix can do with Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft. And I'm making a lot of assumptions here. I don't. If you disagree, please speak up. But my real question is, do you think that a game like Star Citizen that follows like this horizontal progression sandbox approach can kind of upset that expectation of being like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy? Do you think it can keep people engaged and we won't see that kind of quick fall off or cyclical, like anytime a new content comes out you see a spike and then a quick fall off? Any thoughts?
I think because I really appreciate my partner plays World of Warcraft, or she used to.
Yeah.
And she and from what I've seen of it, because this is a little bit more your domain, so much an MMO guy, I think that it's suicidal for Star Citizen to try to emulate World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is based on what you touched on in another video of yours where you're talking game fidelity and the way that games work under the hood that make them attractive. And the thing that really turned me off from Eve in terms of how its fidelity was handled, I think that the structure of Star Citizen will die under the weight of what made World of Warcraft interesting, right? And they're two separate ideas because of the fidelity. I'm trying to find a way to explain that without going on another tangent. It's really hard, but I think I can sum it up by saying Star Citizen is a game with deep, low-level detail mechanics. The way that your armor is put together, the fact that your magazines matter, the fact that your ship is lived in and walked in and tries to have its identity or whatever. The fact that you're walking around with people and exploring these really detailed environments and stuff, the care that goes into doing something small, even just starting in Stanton, loading up a Polaris or an Idris and flying over to Pyro and going to a place or whatever. There's so much intricacy in that structure that's where they need to focus their game. And trying to make these cool narrative things where you let me put it like this. Remember the worm?
Yeah.
All of the stuff I just described that is revolutionary and taken 50 years of development to be able to, without a loading screen, I wake up in Area 18, pile 15 people into a Polaris, grab, forklift mechs and like load up a ship with guns and armor and weapons and spare vehicles that you can land and be like, okay, this terrain sucks. Let's take the hover bikes. And you've got all these scanning mechanics from the event. You park your Polaris somewhere. You get on a train. You leave all that stuff behind. And you go get flown over to a facility where ships cannot go. Tanks cannot go. And then you shoot a worm until its health bar goes to 0. And then you collect it and you get back on the train and you go to your ship. How sad is that?
Yeah.
How sad that is. Like 15 years of development to throw it all away.
Yep. I could not agree more.
And I played this. I did it with 242, and I'm like, this is tragic. And it's just for like empty spectacle in the shadow of a genre that spent all this time trying to like transcend, right?
Yeah.
It's like Chris, you're trying to be Hideo Kojima with Metal Gear. He's making like the first stealth action game. He's making a new genre game, and then he falls into trying to copy all of the games that his technology has given him the power to rise above. And then he just tries to copy them when, he runs into like these minor gameplay snags or complaints from small minds that want it to look like the games they played previously. When he has all that wonder, right? It's like the feeling of Star Citizen has replicated the feeling that you get when you see the Marines at the beginning of waking up from their like cryopods and like loading up ships, right? And loading up their weapons. And then they go down to like the planet and none of the shit matters anymore. It's just gone because it's trying to be a freaking movie, right? But why can't I, in my fight against the xenomorphs, have Dromo come down from space and start like shooting up the aliens, right? Why can't I go get more Pelicans with more like dropships and like come down with more dudes to fight? Why not? That's what you've given me the tools to be able to do. That's your promise. And you've thrown it away for the chase of feeling like a movie, which is so much more limited than the world you've made. And it's tragedy. And it's going to kill his game, and that's why. And that's why I can't even play it anymore, because it's so sad to watch. It's sad.
Yeah. You've definitely captured my lack of interest in doing the worm event. I have yet to do it. I mean, I'm going to do it just to see it, to know it. But I guess my hope is that this is a temporary, like, they built the worm technology, they want to put it out there and just get people seeing it because they have this need to keep people happy, even though it's an alpha game, and but people are still craving it. It's a weird conundrum they're in. But my hope is that this is a temporary thing, and in the future, I'll be working on a sand planet somewhere, trying to do some mining or whatever, and then this worm just pops up and surprises me. That would be what I would much rather see.
Yeah, and Dune Awakening was great with the worm because there's two
Yeah.
things I want to say why the worm is weird. You've sold me on Admiral Bishop saying hold the line against the Vanduul Armada, right? About to burn some planet and kill 30 million people, right? You've sold me on pirates, starving out a planet through like crime and villainy, right? You've sold me the idea of going out into the like this venture into my friends, right? With like this incredible spaceship full of like torpedoes that can like blow holes in ships. And now you're asking me to like poach animals, right? Like, seriously? I went from fighting like this xenomorphic alien species with its own language that speaks in weird gestures like, like you failed, like go on and carry the fleet somewhere else. I'm going to go fight and kill as many humans as possible. Like I get to fight those guys and now you're telling me I have to go shoot some worm whose crime is just like existing for a couple minutes. Like what are you doing? Like why am I here? Like this is dumb. What would be cool is if I'm mining some whatever, like in Dune, and then the worm's like, "Hey, dude, you're pumping around here. Like, I know you want these cool rocks, but I gotta get lunch." And you're like, "Eat us," right? And you grab the carryall and run away, and it's like, "Bless the maker in his water," right? Then that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? Like the worm's jumping. It's like you're trying to like dodge this like force of nature that's trying to consume you. That's cool. Right, the worm is like a representation of nature and something that you're trying to like go around, not something that you shoot to death. Right? That's gross, right? I don't want to be Colonel Quaritch from Avatar burning home trees so I can like scare the natives and like get shiny rocks. Like that's awful, right? Especially since there's unobtainium somewhere else on the planet that nobody happens to be living on, right? The floating islands, they're made of unobtainium. That's why they float. So he could have just mined those and nobody would have cared. But no, we got to burn down the fucking tree where everybody. Come on, it doesn't inspire any kind of. It's just like you do it because like it. That's the thing, but like it doesn't make you want to invest in the narrative. And also, even worse, it doesn't let you use 90% of the cool tools that made the game special in the first place. It's awful, right? And it's a betrayal of his own ideals, his own dream.
I've made the assertion that for sandbox games, there's nothing other than territory control, staking a claim, and building the thing that you want to build. Like those are the things that keep a sandbox game going. Do you agree? Disagree? Do you think there's something else?
Yeah. Because it's there's two things going on here. The fun is the chaos of people interacting with the system. The more intricate and detailed the system is, the more your reactions have potential for more chaos, right? This is like the chaos theory kind of thing. There's a game out there called Falcon 4, and it's not really a game. It's a flight sim, and it has this incredible dynamic campaign, right? You fly an F-16, and it's basically like, well, here's the entirety of the South Korean army. The entirety of the North Korean army is over there. Here's an F-16. You've got a bunch of other F-16s. You may, and here's where it's insane. You can just wait for orders from the AI headquarters, and it'll tell you what to bomb, where to fly, what weapons missions to run. You don't even have to make any. Or you can command the entire war. You can tell every brigade what to do, where to go, what to fight every hour down, and you can just play the game as a strategy game and just fly like in the background, right? Just to make sure that the game is like simulated. Fly it, right? And it's crazy the kind of stuff that you have because the enemy ain't. And I've seen like just missions where it's like 400 tanks, and the Americans on the south side of the DMZ are like, holy shit. right? Send every single plane down there right now. And then the North Koreans are like, oh yeah, like I got the Chinese, and suddenly the Chinese are 400 tanks, and then you've got like a million, like a bunch of F-16s, like a J-20 stealth fighters from China, and then the emergent scenarios that you get, that like furball of insanity, that it blows my mind every time I watch the replay. And I watch it, and it's crazy. I never stop seeing new things happening. Like an F-16 that like got tunnel vision and chased somebody like 30 miles into the DMZ, right? And they're having like a dogfight over there, and there's just stuff. You can see one end of Korea to the other, and there's just stories everywhere. That's the magic of games with this level of detail. Not you're gonna go kill the worm and save the regeneration, dude. We're having a fight over we're having a fight over this bridge. My story is here. I'm telling it. That guy's telling it. Let us tell the story. Let us live it. Right? Get out of the way, Chris. Stop it. And so many of these games just aren't getting it anymore. It's about initial conditions and then letting it go. And if you build a good system, it will keep going without you. And he's so tight-fisted. It's unnatural how much control he's trying to hold over it, that it's falling apart in his hands, right? Because he won't just put systems that let people do stuff and let it fucking go. And that's what happened with Xenothreat a couple of times. He touched on a little bit with Siege of Orison, and then he lost the plot ever since. And then Jumptown, same thing, right? And he just keeps losing the plot, and it gets worse and worse every patch. He just won't go back to the thing that makes these systems great. And what's crazy is Falcon 4 came out like 1999, and it's still going. People are still pumping stuff out into BMS. It's the same damn campaign engine like 20 years ago. And what are you doing, Chris? And that's you're getting one up by a 20-year-old program that's like 800 megabytes, right? That some modders with like GitHub accounts are like managing to better than you can with like $800 million, right? You got $1 million per megabyte of Falcon, and for some reason you can't like focus on making a movie that you watched 20 years ago. Like, stop it, dude.
I mean, that's
I
a
hope
fair
he sees
perspective.
this.
Maybe he will. But yeah, you jumped ahead of me a little bit. Because I totally agree. Like, it's that desire for players to carve something out, and the conflict that ensues. I think that is the magic that keeps a game like this going. And like you said, all the rich systems underneath it are what make that such an enjoyable system. But I mean, you don't have to look any further than games like EVE Online to prove like that. That's the magic sauce that keeps it going. Albion Online, I've heard about recently. Same thing. So that's kind of brings it back to the whole PvP thing in conjunction with sandboxes and territory control. I think it's all like an inseparable soup. And if you try to, like, I think we're done for.
Yeah, it's. I remember if you watch Andor, Chris Roberts' design style reminds me of Manifesto from The Kid, who's like, the Empire's need absolute because it's so unnatural. And it's like, yeah, that's how Chris Roberts designs his video game. Just overbearing to the nth degree, and like, it's stifling. Why do I care that my avatar hasn't eaten in the past 2 hours? Like, did you know the best food in the game is apparently an apple that you can get on like Daymar or like one of the moons?
I had no idea.
You know that?
No.
Yeah. Nobody cares. and that's like, I think it's like something on a planet with copians. Like the best, most nutritious food is like down. Copians are crazy. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you could totally skip the system if you went down for a bit to like pick, but like, why would I do that? I have a Polaris with 20 people armed to the teeth with like cool scanners. Why am I going to go down to pick apple if the reward for picking apples is not having to eat for 20 more minutes. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, why did you even bother?
Oh man,
It's like, what are you doing?
I could definitely see that perspective. I'm excited by the prospect of survival playing an element in the game, but on a more grander scale. Like, I don't consider like having to chug a cruise every 30 minutes exciting survival gameplay. I think more like I've crashed on an alien moon and there's this insane storm system and I got to survive and try to rendezvous with my friends and get the hell out of here. And at that point, maybe food is a component. Like if it takes my friends 5 hours to get there, I don't know. I could see it playing a part there, but maybe they got to do something where it's just like, yeah, you don't have to worry about it unless you're dying in a storm on a stranded moon.
Yeah, and I think that the issue here is that they don't really understand what resources mean and in terms of a video game, right? Because a resource like that is served by the concept of oxygen, right? It's not like glamorous. It doesn't have any variety, and there's no reason to seek it out for buffs, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to make it interesting. You have oxygen or you die.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Or water in some games, or temperature or something. And the survival aspect is really a conflict between you, which is trying to kill you, and can you get what you require from the environment for long enough to survive, right? And I think you can solve that with temperature. You need to seek out warmth, you need to seek out oxygen, and you need to leave, right? Because the game doesn't want you to be here. It wants you, it's your strandedness is stealing you from the wonder of exploring the world, which is the universe where you can fly around. That's what Star Citizen is. Crazy, right? You already have a huge incentive to leave as presence on the planet is stealing you from exploring the world or the universe.
Yeah.
So it's already there. What is the food system doing? It's existing because survival games have food systems, and Chris Roberts wants a humans really need to eat, but it's not serving your character isn't getting hungry realistically in the amount of time that you're stranded. Dude, you can survive for 5 hours. You can survive for days without. Okay, seriously, okay, stop it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Food is interesting when we seek it out for its benefits, right? Like in Valheim, which does a very good job of a food, makes us explore it. Or Breath of the Wild, where it's like you when you're cooking, you're like, okay, I've got spinach, I got onions, I got some other stuff. I'm gonna make a stir fry. Okay, I'm gonna throw some shit together and see what happens. Right? If we want food systems that are explorable because they give us benefits that allow us to go to the part of the game that matters, which is exploring the stars. Right?
Yeah.
The food system in Star Citizen is something to be beaten to death with a pile of hot dogs and so that I can go back to exploring this. There's a disconnect here, and I think it's like thematic disconnect or something. It's some kind of like narrative disconnect that there's a genuine design term getting that is explored in a lot of games, and that's the issue with Citizen. All of its systems do not play with each other and are fundamentally broken because they don't talk to each other or they don't speak to like a large purpose within, a larger design purpose within the game, because it's a narrative. It's not a life. You are here for a limited amount of time to experience the sublimation of a narrative. You're chasing an idea, right? You're not living in Star Citizen. You live in real life, and that's where you can play this game, right? But for your escape for a little bit of time, you have, you're exploring the essence of ideas. You know what I mean? The essence of something.
Yeah. I agree with the food giving benefit. You and I talked about this before, how simple systems like that can go a long way at pulling a bunch of different types of players into the game, and that excites me. But something tells me that you are not going to be a fan of the bathroom gameplay planned.
What is the plan for the bathroom
I
gameplay?
don't know. Every ship has bathrooms. I'm assuming something's coming. I've heard things of like they're gonna have like a hygiene meter. I don't know, man. No idea.
I mean, okay, so when I play Skyrim, right, I have a lot of survivalism mechanics in my Skyrim. I have sleep,
Mm-hmm.
I have hygiene, actually, and I do have temperature, and I have a little bit of food. Food gives me the benefit of being able to, outside of combat, regenerate stamina and get some benefits that are beneficial, that are useful outside of combat or for the long term, like stews or something like that.
Yeah.
The temperature system, what it does is when it's cold out, I have to seek shelter or I have to like build a. And what that has done, in a lot of the times, is it's like, oh, it's a blizzard. I need to find shelter. What is Skyrim filled with? It's filled with cool caves, filled with like dungeons and like monsters to fight. And while it's raging blizzard outside, the game is, well, dude, I know you were going to Morthal or something, but from Winterhold, but there's a blizzard out, so now you have to find a dungeon, and oh shit, the dungeon is filled with Draugr, and it's a vampire den, and you can't go inside now, so go through this dungeon for the next couple. Found plenty of caves that I would have otherwise never found because I didn't have the external pressure forcing me to go for dungeon. The hygiene system and the sleep systems I have slow the game down so that I don't level too quickly and force me to like return to towns and systems, right? And it slows the pacing of the game down so I consume the content in a way that makes it depreciative, right? Those systems enhance and talk to the game where I'm like, okay, yeah, you want speechcraft, you want to not get sick as much, go back to towns every once in a while and interact with those systems instead of just bouncing and fast traveling from dungeon to quest and dungeon to quest, right? And it paces the game. It's like instead of eating a soup with nothing in it, it's got some meat chunks in there, and there's some, it's not just shoveling food into your mouth. You got to work on a little bit, but it's a healthy balance. The Star Citizen experience is oversaturated with meters to fill, and it's upsetting the balance because it's already taken us so much damn time to wake up in a bed, get on the subway, go to my hangar, wait for the animation to come up, put the stuff, then move that vehicle to the side, put the elevator back down, bring it back up, get the next vehicle, put the vehicles inside of my, put the box. I can land in the place I'm out of now, right? Oh, by the way, you need to eat and drink and bathe yourself. It's like, dude, come on. You have already slowed the game down enough for it to be consumable in a reasonable amount of time and expect this stuff. Stop it, right? And none of these things do anything other than punish me for not looking at them. I'm not rewarded with like some kind of like, oh, cool lavender soap. You get better speechcraft, or oh, you used plain soap. It's harder to smell you, so you get better, right? That's like, it's not even cool to look at. Like, oh wow, if I use this, I get some benefit that might help me in the dungeon. No, it's just you're not going to annoy me for another, right? That's all he's saying. It's like a nagging helicopter parent in the background, like staring over me, like dot my T's. The person I'm writing the email to doesn't give a crap, right? Because he's worried about what I'm doing. That's the feeling of it. It's stupid, right? And I mean that in like the capital S stupid. It's crap without concern for the consequence.
Fair enough. Well, while we're on the concept of crap,
Please don't put toilets in the ships, Chris.
oh, they're already there.
Oh my god.
But not literal. I wasn't literally going to go further into the toilet talk. I was going to go to another topic which fires people up, which they might call crap, and that is in-game monetization. pay to win, pay to skip, pay for cosmetics, pay for this, pay for that. What are your thoughts?
That is what makes it so that I don't play MMOs. I've played Arma and PvP missions where my job was to sit behind a rock and give reports that there was nobody walking in a direction. The enemy was not here. And that information was useful because if the enemy was not there, then they must be somewhere. Because for this limited amount of time, we are fighting over something specific. And my job is to make sure that focus can be achieved in place because the fight will be intense. It will be brutal. We will need every resource. So if we know that the enemy is not here, there limits the amount of places the enemy can be. It allows us to focus our attention into where the enemy might be. That is a very, very specific, very, very disciplined, and very, I think, important part of those games. It's that everything has intention. Even if it's deliberate and long and disciplined. Star Citizen doesn't have those qualities when it makes us do nonsense. So this is not coming from a place of like, you just want to play Call of Duty, right? I've played deep simulations where we've had to do long distance travel and walk, 3 kilometers because if we try to tank that way, we're going to die, right? We're going to get spotted, right? So it's done with intention and meaning. To get back to what you said, if your content is something that is there that is worth paying for, I am not interested. And you are putting something in front of me to punish me and make me want to give you money to get over it. That's essentially torture, right? You're just saying, I'll put up with this, but you can skip it if you give me money. If that's something in your game, that's inherently right. But I have no problem with deliberate, intentionalized, slow interactions, as long as the interaction is there for a purpose, right? If I'm putting the effort in to sneak up on something or putting the effort in to move something somewhere, right, and I'm doing something deliberately, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. I've done that so many times. But I will not do it for something that's pointless, that's just there to try to make me give you money. And I think that's disgusting beyond any reason for anybody who wants to call themselves an artist to do. I think it's filth.
Are you okay with things like cosmetics, though?
No. And this is a delicate balance. I can accept cosmetics, but Star Citizen is a simulator. And one of the things about a simulator is you might want to choose the way you look in order to serve a purpose, to identify people as a community, to blend in with your environment, to show some kind of symbol, right? Especially if you're identifying yourself as a community, to show individuality. And I think that making even cosmetics in a game with this much detail, something that you want to hide behind monetization, is really about, right? Going out and wearing the clothes of a certain place, might be a symbol that the player wants to represent as a part of their demonstration of who their identity, space we've made, or logos on the side of a ship, or I want to paint my own Polaris. Thank you very much. I want my community to have its own paint scheme where 12 of us get together and we start designing how differentiate organization from other organizations, right? And if you hide that behind a paywall, you've taken the magic away, right? Of showing up as a community, because it takes so much work, right, to make that stuff happen. Why are you taking that away from me and putting money involved, right? Now it's just like, okay, well, they got the same paint scheme, they paid $12. It's meaningless now. What does it mean? It means you paid 12. It doesn't have. It's again, you're killing the magic, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're similar-minded there.
You need money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. You need money. And you need money, and it's the least invasive way that you could make money, but it's still it still sucks. You know what I mean? But I'll forgive you for needing money.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's better than a massive subscription?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I if Star Citizen adhered to the ideals that we had talked about in other conversations and the reasons to this, I would probably be okay with just having it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd just pay $12 a month, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I'd pay it for years.
I'm with you. I wish
Or
it could
even
be
more than that.
Yeah.
More. Because when I look at it like this, I maybe don't go to a movie, right? That's about the cost of a movie, right? It's about $20 a ticket.
Yeah.
You get 90 minutes of enjoyment. If I pay $20 for this month, right, and I play 2 hours a day, a weekday, and I don't play on weekends, that's 10 hours per week, right? That's 40 hours a month, right? And I have paid $20 for 40 hours of content. Do the math on
Mhm.
your money, on your return on investment. That's pathetic for the amount of content that you're getting back, which is insane, right? That is an insane amount of content and enjoyment for $20. I will pay that every month more than I'll pay a subscription.
That's where I'm coming from. I wish we would see a return to the subscription model. I said this on a previous video. I just think that's the only way to align our interests with the developer interests. Like anything else, we're not aligned. And I did the math. I did the same kind of math, and I was thinking, I pay a Netflix subscription, and I think I watch Netflix maybe once a month. Like I don't even. It's just so I have it there. I don't know, and I think that's like $20 a month now, or close to it.
Yeah, like the amount of money that you get on video games is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like I think I bought Doom Eternal for like $80, right? I don't know how. I'm gonna look on Steam right now and see how many hours I have in Doom, right? Because I bought the big pack. I have 144 hours in Doom. I'm not like a really big Doom guy. I beat it on Nightmare. Like that's less than $1 per hour of fun.
Yeah.
Right? Wow, Hugo. Thank you so much for that. And I think a bunch of my hours cracked. So like, I played it with other. It's insane. And like, I don't want to talk about the number of hours I haven't that I haven't paid that much money for. It's insane the amount of money that you get, or the amount of what you get back.
Yeah.
And like apparently that's too much for people. It's crazy to me. So we're gonna compromise the game with dumb microtransactions instead of just like.
I know.
What?
We've hit all the hot button issues on my list. Is there any on yours?
Oh, right. That thing we were talking about the other night with The Sims.
Yeah.
And the appreciation I started, and with Chris Roberts, his Everybody's Game. I think it's so beautiful. I want to revisit it really quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
I was watching my partner play The Sims, and I was watching her like sublimate the interaction with people, with somebody going to work, having a bar, and I'm like, it was like lightning. It hit me, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's what Chris Roberts is making. And I had it one day. I achieved his dream where my buddies and I had some insane immersion, got stuck on like a planet, and we got picked up by a guy who had a hammerhead, but he had bounty on his head, right? And like a bunch of player bounty hunters like ambushed our hammerhead, right? And we were like helping this dude like in turrets, and we all got crime stats, and we had like fight our way bounty hunter guild, right? With like this dude and like his hammerhead and buddy, right? And he dropped us off in Grimhex one day, and you know what? We all like walked into the bar, like took our helmets off as we were all now like, and like we sat down and drinks and like take screenshots, and we're like, this is cool as shit, right? That's awesome, right?
Yep.
And there are moments that we've been touching on where the game stops to give you respect for the mundane. And that's what The Sims embodies. It's making games out of these mundane reactions, like decorating the inside of your ship or whatever. And the thing about The Sims is that it has a great user interface. They'll tell you that it's bad, but they haven't played Star Citizen or into an way, and it becomes non-Euclidean blur that like kills flies around 20. So they think theirs bad, like piece of furniture murders you, right? But it's got a great UI and decorating's really. And the thing about is that I was making a mission in Arma where we had to like raid this guy's house, and my girlfriend's like, she's like, your house sucks, and she sat down and she like rearranged the furniture in the house, right? And then 242 went and like breached the dude's house like after like my went to the nines. Like she hung paintings on the wall, like arranged the furniture, like put like pieces of like because we had like raid evidence, so she like put where the evidence was going to be for like people to find, and they had so much fun with that house. They've gone through that house like 10 times, and they're like, this is like the best CQB mission like we've ever done, because like there's nothing like kicking open and feeling like somebody right.
You cut out. Feeling like somebody what?
Lives there.
Yeah.
Right. And like it's like holy shit. So Chris Roberts makes this game where you have a boat where you can design the furniture. And my girlfriend doesn't really like shooting games, like military kind of stuff. But the idea that she could run around my Idris, my buddies and I are like planning like some mission to like pirate base, rearranging the furniture, right? And like decorating, because she loves decorating. And we could all be playing the same game, and while we're flying through space, she's like experimenting with like food and different combinations of potions, like decorating the inside out, because that's what she, right? And we could all be like planning some raid on a pirate base, playing the same damn game in the same spot. Sometimes we could even be like fighting, and she could one of the rooms and like knocked over some of the furniture, and that could be like an argument that we have, right? It's like like you knocked over like the the stuffed animal we got from Orison, like it got vented out into space, and it's like, oh shit. You know what, like something absurd like that isn't in any video game yet. And like that, I think, is the purest form of what Chris Roberts really wanted when he put stuff together. I think he's just getting right. And he's not like doing what made The Sims great, because it wasn't the feeling that you have now when you drink or whatever. It's not the same feeling. And the same thing that made Arma great is also being in the mire of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I see where he's going when he's trying to use systems. He's trying to dehumanize a type of gameplay that rewards. He's trying to humanize a type of gameplay that rewards dehumanization. Simulation games reward you for subsuming, which is why so many solo players don't want to do that. It's dehumanizing, right? He's trying to bring the humanizing aspect of Sims Dane into this dehumanizing militarist play. And in mashing them together, he's like gotten lost in special. But I think he can if he lets go a little bit. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I am in complete agreement. I've had similar thoughts for quite some time, and I could show you my I have like a to-do list on videos I would like to do, and one of my to-do items has been Star Citizen, the game for everyone. But I have been thinking about it and how I can actually approach this topic, and I just haven't cracked it, but I think you just did.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's still your video. Maybe we sit down together and talk about that. But like,
yeah,
when you're doing that, I'd love to be on when you talk about it, because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I even let it slip in one of my other videos a couple months ago. I don't even remember the video, but I remember a commenter that I got because I let slip how Star Citizen could be the game for everybody. That's all I said. I didn't go into detail like you just did. It's just kind of an abstract thought in my mind. And one of the commenters came in and they said, if you try to make a game for everybody, the game will be for nobody. And I thought about that because historically I think that has been true. But I think that it was more of a technology limitation than than anything. And I think that we might be reaching the point where that's no longer the case.
Because my partner loves Star Citizen.
Yeah.
She hates what Star Citizen is, but she loves the idea. She's crazy with it, right? There are so many times when, my clan runs through she'll be following along and she'll like pick up like a cute helmet or something like out of a room, and she'll just be admiring the detail that we were ignoring because we shot up all the stuff and whatever. And this is something that we have a in well, there's a word for it in the military, and I use it when exploitation, right? It's the part of the game that happens after you, and you have to like forage and examine the environment. You've played Resident Evil, right? When you fight off the bad guy and then you got to like do a puzzle somewhere, right? And the puzzles, you got to like put shit together and you got to like look, really imagine it. She adores that part of the game, right? I adore that part of the game. It's not even gendered. If anybody wants to like pull out that kind of thing, it's not gendered, right? It's just not done well in many games at the same time. And I think Resident Evil 4 is one of the few games that doesn't properly. And dude, you can make that an MMO. There's nothing stopping you, right? You can make detailed, cool exploitation sequences where you got to like do something. And like, for the love of God, Milsim players want that so bad. And like, he just pulled it off with the stuff with the worm where you got to like get ID badges and stuff and like move them over. And like, it's so cool, right? Milsim players want that to the nines and have done so much stuff to try to like, and it's not gendered at all. It's just don't bog it down, and she loves it. She thinks it's awesome, but just make it good. And the tech is there; it's built. He's just not using it in a way that speaks to the truth of what those, in my opinion.
Yeah. Awesome. Well. Yeah, maybe you're onto something. Maybe we will have to get back together and talk about the game for everybody and go further into it. I think it's a fascinating topic, and I've been kind of collecting thoughts and ideas on it for some time, and everything from like design and the exploitation thing you're just talking about. I think that's fascinating, to the survival elements, to the fact that there's FPS gameplay, ship gameplay. There's like parts that feel like simulation. There's parts that feel like Call of Duty, like it, and it all comes together very well. So, yeah, that would be cool.
It will be cool. I mean, I think we should do this again if you want. I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to too. Yeah, this has been great.
Maybe
I really
we'll get
appreciate
Chris in here one day.
one day.
One day.
That would be awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's
Thanks for having me, man. This was great. I had a blast.
Yeah, me too. Is there anywhere? So we mentioned at the beginning of the show that 242 Nightstalkers is the group you lead. You guys are pretty serious. You do a lot of cool stuff. Is there anywhere that people can find you other than me dropping a link below? Can they Google something?
I think, oh my God, you cut out real bad. But I think you asked where you can find 242. We currently do have a working permanent Discord link. You can just join the server. It's going to be really intimidating when you get in. People have told me that. Just the litmus test we're looking for is, hey man, can you say hello? Right? If you come in and say hello, we're super friendly people. The seriousness is just part of how the game is played, less so about how people actually think about each other. It's very silly in between sessions, but in the middle of it, we just want to pay respect to the person who sat down and made the content. So if you join discord.gg/242 Nightstalkers, you'll find us. We don't have a website. It's not that serious. And you'll see people playing through it and whatever and practicing all sorts of cool stuff. But thank you so much for the opportunity to make a shameless plug. I hope we see some new people in there who think the same way we do.
I hope so too. Definitely. It's the least we could do. Well, spectacular. Thanks again. I hope people seeing. Yeah, man. I hope people see conversations like this. The whole thing is like, I'm hoping that like the back and forth on these really sensitive topics can maybe throw a little water on the fire. It might be a long shot, but who knows?
I don't know, man. I think we agree a lot. So hopefully, maybe we'll find somebody who disagrees.
Yeah.
And they can tell us, the apples on a random planet somewhere was a good design decision.
Yeah, that's a good point. If any of you watching disagree, please jump into the comments. I'm sure Helios and I will both would love to engage with you all down there. Thanks for tuning in and watching. We hope to chat with you there. Until then, we're out.
See you.